deep inside the mysterious archives of the Newkirk Museum of the Paranormal. It's the Haunted Objects Podcast.
You ever been to a chiropractor?
I have never been to a chiropractor. I'm too scared.
I've never been to one either.
It scares me.
It looks very violent.
It does. It's very violent on TikTok because there's a huge group of people who love watching, and I'm in that group of people who like to watch people get their bones tortured. It's loud. The face one is the scariest one because they like put all this pressure on your face and like pop your sinuses and shit. Like it sounds horrifying.
Every time I see one, I see the X-ray vision from the Mortal Kombat games, and I just imagine all of their bones cracking and breaking on the inside, because that's kind of what it looks and sounds like.
It's scary.
You know what's really scary?
What?
Chiropractic was invented by a ghost.
That's the irony of something
really
being invented by something that doesn't have any bones is pretty funny to me.
Here's what's funny. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. There was a guy by the name of Daniel David Palmer.
D.D. Palmer.
Shout out D.D. Palmer. He was the father of chiropractic treatment, and he was a spiritualist. Mm-hmm. And he claims that in 1895, when he performed the first chiropractic adjustment, he was given instructions by a long-dead doctor by the name of Jim Atkinson.
Okay.
So from the other side emanated instructions on how to torture people's bones.
How to pop them back into place, and
maybe the ghost was just jealous because he didn't have any bones.
Maybe.
He was like, I'm going to make these living assholes really regret having bones.
He was like, I'm going to create an entire industry that makes you completely reliant on me, so you have to keep coming back over and over and over again.
D.D. Palmer, he before he got into listening to ghosts give him instructions on how to snap people's spines, he was healing people with magnets. He's the guy where all that shit came from.
Oh, yeah, okay.
My mom, my grandma, they were all into that magnet
Magnets?
stuff. Yeah, they had those like crazy magnetic bracelets and stuff.
The like, if you've got like problems with like your bone, when you have problems with your bones, you put a magnetic bracelet on.
Yeah, he was the guy who started all that.
I totally forgot about that. Does it work? My mom swore that it worked.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know, maybe it works.
I mean, there's an argument that chiropractic doesn't work because it's still not a recognized medical profession, despite what anyone will tell you.
There's a lot of people who feel like they feel relief after going to the chiropractor. The problem is I've said this before, but it's like Botox. Like you have to go back. It's not lasting. So you get it done, and then you've got to go back again in like 2 weeks to get it realigned.
Wow. I don't know, but I know that D.D. Palmer went to jail for performing medicine without a license.
I love that D.D. Palmer, the creator of this practice, went to jail because of it, and it's still around today.
Can you just imagine him like, no, a ghost told me how to do this.
You don't understand.
Probably was a tax scam. That was what, because he was trying to turn it into a religion, I guess. Chiropractic was originally supposed to be like a spiritual, religious belief.
So what was it's you just get your bones like smacked around?
The ghost smack your bones around, and then and then you feel good again. So he went to jail.
I'm not gonna lie, I definitely did look up a photo of him, and he is glorious.
This guy's awesome.
He's glorious, and he looks exactly like how I imagine someone. Oh my god, dude, he is awesome. Look at that guy. Would you trust
this guy snapping your bones, sitting there talking to you about ghosts?
No.
Yes.
I mean, part of me would want to, I think, but like he scares me.
I'm gonna wrench your spine the way that the undead entity whispered to me during a dark seance.
I love that his office has all my favorite things on the planet. Like there's a human skull. There's like, it's just perfect. It's literally perfect. That's my dream office.
You know who could have used some help from D.D. Palmer?
Who?
The subject of today's episode. And his name is the Cracking Man.
Are you afraid of clowns? Maybe you should be. After adopting a mysterious clown doll destined for a donation bin, an Illinois woman became convinced that her house had become haunted. Night after night, the woman would awaken to strange noises, distant cracks and pops that invaded her once quiet hallways. Late one evening, the familiar cracking woke the woman in her bed. As her blurry vision cleared, she found herself gazing into the hollow eye sockets of a mummified corpse. As she opened her mouth to scream, the entity began to back away. The noises she'd been hearing for weeks echoed from the joints of the desiccated body, twisting and popping as it retreated from the room. The haunted clown was shipped to the Newkirk Museum of the Paranormal for further study. Just who or what is the Cracking Man? The shocking answer may reside where the clown was first discovered: the basement of a recently deceased priest.
This terrifying little porcelain doll showed up on Valentine's Day 2017.
Yeah.
I want to read the letter that came with the Cracking Man.
Okay.
I'm gonna
you read the whole letter?
I'm going to read the whole letter.
Oh my God.
This will give everybody an idea of what was going on with the
I don't
Cracking
remember
Man.
a lot of these details, and I
been a
know
while.
that by the end of this letter, I'm going to want to throw this thing in the woods.
If you don't like clowns already, strap in, because you're going to really hate
Should we
them
do a
after
trigger
this.
warning for clown fear? Trigger warning, clown
What's the
fear.
clown fear called, Connor?
Coulrophobia.
Coulrophobia.
Oh my God. If you've got coulrophobia, get out of here.
You should probably just turn this episode off.
Yeah, you're definitely. I mean,
you probably already tuned out.
You probably are already triggered out of your mind at this point. So just maybe take this one. Don't stop watching the episode. Just
listen to it.
Just let it play.
Dear Dana and Greg, my name is, and I'm sending you this doll because I know it's haunted and I don't want it in my apartment anymore. I've had it for a little over a month, but it's been long enough to know that something isn't right about this thing, and I don't know if it's a ghost or demon or what, but it should be somewhere where it can't hurt anyone. Off to a great start.
I also don't like that this letter started with my name. Like, Dear Dana.
Well, I mean, it is alphabetically correct.
I guess.
In January, I was helping my friends clean some boxes of junk out of a house they'd just bought to flip outside of Chicago. The man who lived in the house had a lot of stuff left in the basement, and so we were hauling it all out to Goodwill. One box was labeled, "Do not open." So of course we opened it, thinking it would be a box of weird sex stuff or something. Inside were a whole bunch of things wrapped in towels and pillowcases. We kept unwrapping them all to see what was inside, and there were toys and books and a baseball trophy, just lots of weird trinkets. One of them was a clown wrapped up in a grungy painting that looked like it was of him. My friends kept making jokes about how we should kill it with fire, but it was so creepy that I had to keep it, and the rest of the stuff was shipped off to Goodwill. A few days after I brought the doll home, I started to notice how tired I was all the time. It was really weird. I was always groggy and spaced out. I never thought that it might be the clown, just that I was getting sick with some seasonal depression thrown in. Then I started hearing the weird noises. Every night, the sound of hollow cracking would start up. It would move around the apartment, but I could never find out where it was coming from. I thought maybe it was the vents heating up, but that sounded more like metal. I could never find it, but I'll get back to that. Everyone who saw the doll was always telling me, "Ew, you should burn that thing." I even started to have dreams that I was burning the doll. It was like something was telling me that I had to burn the doll or something bad was going to happen. I noticed myself getting weirdly obsessed with the idea of burning the doll, to the point where I would just think about it over and over. I need to burn this doll. I need to burn this doll. Over and over. Finally, I put it in the closet because every time I saw the stupid doll, I would just think about how I had to set it on fire. One night, I was in the middle of a dream and I heard the cracking sound again. It was so loud I actually heard it in my dream and woke up because I knew that I had to look for it. When I opened my eyes, I saw a man standing next to my bed, leaning over me. I tried to scream, but I couldn't move. He looked like a corpse, and his eye sockets were hollow with no eyes. His face looked smushed and pressed to one side, and his skin looked like shiny, hard leather. He wasn't wearing any clothes, and his arms were all twisted up, dislocated. He looked a lot like those mummies that they pull out of swamps. I kept trying to scream, but I was too scared, and I think I was in shock. What was most weird was that he looked surprised to see me, and began to back away when I woke up, which is when I heard the cracking noise and realized it was the sound of his bones rubbing against each other as he moved. Then he was gone. I was totally convinced that this had to do with the doll, so I put the doll in a box and called my friends to tell them what happened. I asked them if they knew who owned the house and who the doll belonged to. They didn't know much about who owned it, but the seller told them the man was really old and died in the house, and he didn't have any family because he was a retired priest. I was finally going to burn the doll, but everything I read online told me burning a haunted doll was a bad idea. I think maybe the Cracking Man was trying to make me burn the doll, which is why it was all wrapped up and stuffed in the basement in the first place. I don't know what else to do with it, so I started looking at haunted dolls on different websites, and when I found Ruby, I found you. I'm sending you this doll because it will be safer with you than with me. Sorry the letter is so short, but I wanted to send the doll out right away. Please do not use my name. Well,
I hate everything about that. Haven't read that in a while.
It's been a while. In fact, the Cracking Man was in a box for the longest time.
Yeah. Like a wooden box with a glass case on the front.
And Connor broke it out.
Well, it's all a part of the job. You couldn't find the key, so I had to take a screwdriver and open it up and crack it open.
Take the hinges out.
Real musty. He still smells like an old wet basement.
Yeah,
He
he does.
stinks.
He stinks.
Yeah, he definitely stinks.
No offense, buddy.
I mean, you stink, my guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever heard anything like that before? A man who looks like a mummy standing over you,
No,
popping his bones.
Here's the thing. Just to be fair, if I saw that, I would shit my fucking pants to death. Probably.
Here's the thing. We've seen a lot of scary shit in our day. We've seen things in our room at night.
Yeah.
But never anything.
Not something going like,
not like a bog mummy fucking cracking his twisted bones.
I would cease to exist. My soul would rocket out of my butthole and fly away to a different dimension. I would not be on this planet anymore. That's some like horror movie.
It is
stuff.
The Cracking Man stands apart from a lot of the clown stuff that we've been given.
Sure.
You do this job long enough, you're going to get clowns. They just show the up. We have tons of porcelain clowns that people send us. We've got, we have a stitched clown art that's called Smiley that we got from a couple University of Miami students who claimed that they'd heard it laughing in their house at night.
It's very 70s. It's very like cross-stitched kind of 70s vibe.
But nothing with a story like this.
No.
This is a little bit different, and it's worth exploring a little bit in this episode. But before we explore what makes the Cracking Man so scary and try and get to the bottom of him, we should talk about why clowns in general are scary. Why are so many people frightened of these clowns when supposedly they're just here to bring us joy?
I know people who like joke that they're afraid of clowns, and like everyone's kind of creeped out by clowns because they're weird.
Yeah.
But I know people who are actively like afraid of clowns. Their fear is so intense that it's actually like in a phobia kind of space.
There's really two types of clowns that we see today. We see the clowns that are supposed to be funny clowns, happy clowns, and then now we've got really scary clowns.
And I feel like at this point, or 2023.
What's the difference?
Yeah. But like, think about it this way. Statistically, if you were to make a pie chart, we see way more scary clowns than we see funny clowns today.
I think even the nicer you try to make a clown, the scarier it becomes.
Because we're so used to being like suspicious of them.
Dude, I dated a girl who was a Christian clown. Christian clowning is a thing. I dated a girl, Robin.
Don't name drop her.
It's fine. It's fine. She'll never listen to this
Robin,
podcast.
the Christian clown.
Shout out Robin. I'm trying to remember what her clowning name was. She was a clown with her dad.
It was Gizetta.
I think it was Tulip. I think it was Tulip. But I remember I've never been less attracted to someone than like seeing someone I was attracted to dressed like a clown.
Yeah.
There's just something about it.
And I love sexy clowns.
Sexy clowns.
Like Halloween sexy clowns.
Yeah.
Like when they make a thing that's not, sorry clowns, I don't mean to say it like this. At least to me, when they make something that I don't necessarily think is like a thing that could be sexy and then they make it sexy.
Oh, anything can be sexy.
It's so funny.
If you try.
It's so funny. Sexy clowns are so funny.
Okay, so the history of clowns.
Yes, let's do it. Let's get into it.
We really are looking at the history of a depiction of a trickster archetype.
Yeah.
The archetype of the jester that doesn't play by the rules. The jester was a almost sacred act.
Yeah, I mean, the jester was the only character who could make fun of the king.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
The jester was the only character who could do really inappropriate, probably weird sexual things, and like people just loved it. It was part of what the jester...
They could break the social taboos at
there
the
we
time.
Go. Mm-hmm.
They were allowed to do that. And in fact, it was almost seen as a beneficial thing to do that.
Yeah.
Because it was a way of getting it out of your system.
Yeah.
Everyone could see the clown doing all the things that you weren't allowed to do.
Mm-hmm.
You could laugh. It's a comedian, basically.
Yeah, and it's this idea that like you've created a space where this behavior is allowed to be observed and laughed at and kind of enjoyed. And like you said, once you're out of it, that you've gotten it out of your system, you've kind of gone into the waters of your shadow a little bit and you've processed it, and now you get to come out the other side.
Connor was making a note the other day about how it seems almost like maybe that's why we like horror movies, right?
Yeah, like that's still a safe space culturally to perform what you're not supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe even like violent video games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that sort of is the current outlet.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in like ancient or medieval times, instead it was watching the clown or the jester's performance.
Right.
I would even wonder if like there are certain drag performers who hold that kind of space today. Like certain types of drag performers who embody that a lot.
Absolutely. There's a really great paper called Coulrophobia and the Trickster.
Coulrophobia being scared of clowns, spooky clowns.
Being fear of clowns.
All right.
Coulrophobia and the Trickster. We'll link it in the show notes if you want to check it out.
Clown spookies.
There's a quote in there by John Townsend, who wrote a book called Clowns, his seminal work, 1976.
He was very focused on the book, not the title.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he has a quote here that says, "Throughout history, the idea of the clown has been linked with the fool. Fool is usually taken to refer to someone lacking common sense, if not totally devoid of reason, and encompasses a broad range of characters, including both the village idiot and the harmless eccentric. The fool's characteristic traits are very much those of natural man. Unimpressed with sacred ceremonies or the power of rulers, he's liable to be openly blasphemous and defiant. Uninhibited in sexual matters, he often delights in obscene humor."
What a badass.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah, like a strange, uncomfortable being that forces us to observe our own mundaneness.
Yes. The clown has had a dark side.
Yeah.
Since the very beginning of the clown.
That's super interesting that you would say that too, because it has had interesting eras. Like we seem like we're in a dark side of the clown.
We are.
Pink Floyd's album Dark Side of the Clown era right now. But
we are.
But it's interesting because it kind of shifts and changes.
Yes.
Interesting.
Where most people came to know the clown as we know it today was the circus. The Ringling Brothers Circus in particular. Yeah, you used to protest the Ringling Brothers back in the day.
When I was a small child, my uncle, my aunt took me to a Ringling circus, and I rode on an elephant that choked on a plastic cup.
Oh.
And I was like, even as like a 7-year-old, I was like, this is the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that circus.
I mean, they're closed now.
Circuses, yeah.
So it can work.
Yeah.
Animal rights and
there you
stuff
go.
Like that.
Uh-huh.
Take a note out of Dana's book.
Yeah.
Protest the stuff that
Protect
sucks.
our animals.
David Kaiser, the director of talent for Ringling Brothers and the Barnum and Bailey Circus, said that clowns have always had a dark side. After all, these were characters who reflected a funhouse mirror back on society. Academics note that their comedy was often derived from their voracious appetites for food, sex, and drink, as well as their manic behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So we see from the very beginning, clowns have had a dark side. There was always kind of something there that reflected the darker vices of normal human beings.
Yeah, and then observing them gives us permission to wonder those things about ourselves. Like, do we feel the same way? Or is it triggering within us a similar kind of response?
Yeah.
Do we want to feel and behave the same way as the clown? It's
Yeah.
kind of, it's a very fascinating literally a funhouse mirror to look in.
I mean, we find dark things funny. We always have. There's nothing more universal than watching a guy get kicked in the nuts.
It's true.
It's funny in every culture.
Yeah.
Everybody laughs at people falling down and getting hurt.
It's very, very true.
And that's what the clowns would do at the circus. They would mock fight each other. And so people can relate to it, I think, is why it's funny.
Got it.
But it's also why it's a little bit scary.
I mean, even today, like there's a reason a character named like the Joker is so just people just fall into this character sometimes.
Have you ever watched those cringe videos of people who they wear the full Joker makeup and they do the laugh and they get walked in on by the roommate and it's real uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Yeah. People who dress up as clowns there's something wrong with them. Clowns are nervous because they mock the holes in our conception of the universe, our notions of safety and security, and the other frail certainties of our time.
You're really making me actually love clowns.
Well, I think
you're changing my thought about clowns, like about what they mean within society. I'm really kind of like finding the clown a lot more interesting now than maybe I had before.
Well, clowns feel dated to us now, I think.
I think
and
that's
it's like
what
you
it
said,
is.
we're going through like a dark side of the clown right now.
Yeah, it's kind of boring.
Yeah, like normal happy clown kind of that feels very vintage, antique.
Yeah.
But clowns change constantly as culture changes. Like our conception of who the jester is, like who's allowed to make fun of the king changes. You could say late night hosts are clowns a lot of the time.
That's true.
Comedians.
They put themselves off. I think the thing about the late night hosts too is they're often putting themselves into that position to try to prop up the person that they're interviewing.
Yes.
So you can think about some of the greatest like late night hosts have been people who are self-deprecating, people who laugh at themselves, make jokes at their own expense to kind of build up the other person, which is a kind of a sacred role really in a lot of ways.
Comedy always is.
Yeah.
One of the most widely known forms of comedy is slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
It's one that can transcend language. Again, it's watching a dude get kicked in the nuts.
Yeah.
It's funny no matter what culture you're from.
Yeah, and when we think about it, the origins of it in film was a time period where we didn't have sound anyway. So you had to just rely on your physicality and your body to make people laugh and to make people understand what you were trying to convey.
Part of where we get what clowns look like traditionally is the white faces and the exaggerated features. That was because you needed to be able to see the clown's expressions from way up in the stands. So
it was a necessity, really, was it to, again, project all the way back to the back row. You needed to have a physical appearance that was very striking in a way that people would be able to see what kind of facial expressions you were making and what you were doing with your body.
And it was slapstick humor because it didn't require a microphone.
Yeah.
You could over-exaggerated fights that were happening, you slipping and falling.
Pies in the face.
Exactly.
Everybody
that stuff,
loves a pie in the face.
No matter how far back you're sitting at the circus or the Coliseum even, you can tell what's going on there.
There's a sense of resiliency with it too, right? So like a clown, a traditional act, if you look at a lot of the old YouTube videos and stuff like that, the whole bit is that they keep messing up and then they keep trying again.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's like this weird tinge of optimism. The more clown videos we watched, we were like, there's kind of a theme here.
Well, things weren't always super happy when it came to clowns. It was around the 1980s that people started to get scared of clowns.
Yeah, for maybe good reason, you know?
What kind of reasons would those be?
I mean, we've got two possibilities. The biggest one being notorious serial killer John Wayne Gacy.
Who moonlit as a children's clown.
He moonlit as a children's clown named Pogo.
Yep.
And murdered people, young people. And then we also get It.
That's right.
And you have Pennywise. You have this scary, creepy clown that's literally pulling children into drains and bringing them to a monster world. And
you start to get things like even killer clowns from outer space.
Yeah. Suddenly, we now have a sinister, spooky, scary clown. And it makes me think of like children in horror, where it's like we have, when kids are scary in movies, they're really scary because we're so used to them being depicted as innocent.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that at that point in time, people seeing a man dressing up like a clown who is an actual serial killer and then, fictionalized scary clowns. It's that changing of, something from innocent to absolutely terrifying, which is kind of fascinating.
Little bit of a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah. What is that saying about our collective psyche too?
I know, right? So with that in mind, what do you think it is that drives people to want to portray clowns? Because there's a lot of people that dress up as clowns even today.
So creepy clowns or
I'm talking
funny clowns?
I mean both.
I think creepy clowns because it's fun to be something that scares people. I enjoy it. Most people enjoy it. Like there's a sense of like there's an enjoyment that comes from knowing that your physical presence frightens other people.
I mean, is there anything funnier than a scared kid?
Kids are very funny when they're scared.
They're
very
hyperventilation
funny.
when
They flail.
Yeah.
They like don't know how to respond. I mean, it's very funny. So I think wanting to dress up like a creepy clown is funny to me because it means that you're intentionally wanting to like freak people out. And I don't understand the other side of the coin at all.
Really?
I don't understand that like innocent. I want to be a silly, goofy clown.
Yeah.
I don't get it. It weirds me out. I immediately go to a creepy place. I can't help it. I don't ever look at any clown and not think they're going to murder me.
Connor, why do you think people become friendly clowns?
I mean, frankly, it's a strange particular breed of like of theater individuals.
Yeah.
Right?
Theater
We could just say theater kids.
It is, though.
Theater
right?
kids really, yeah, it's true. It is.
I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right. Theater kids really, they're into it.
Is it like a wanting to bring back a different time period? Because some of it can be like when you look at some of the very, very old clown performers, there's definitely like an art form too. There's almost an elegance kind of. There's something sweet about it. It still creeps me out. I'm still convinced they're going to stab me, but there's something kind of elegant. There's something very sweet about it, and it makes me wonder if that's not what people are trying to like
that's it.
reconnect with.
I think a lot of the like classical, I would really be curious to see a map or a chart of birthday clown requests because I think they're being replaced by like Marvel character birthday
You're
parties.
right.
Yeah, for
Superheroes.
sure.
At that age right now.
He-Man.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters. Shout out Ghostbusters 2. Ghostbusters 2.
Are you in possession of a haunted object? An antique spiritualist tool? Wreckage from a crashed UFO? The Newkirk Museum of the Paranormal wants to add it to their archives. Whether your strange item is causing you paranormal problems or is simply a supernaturally significant relic worthy of curation, we want to hear from you. For more information on our acquisition process, visit paramuseum.com.
Well, it's actually really difficult to become a clown.
Yeah.
A real, like, certified clown.
Yeah.
There's clown colleges all over the country. There's not quite as many anymore. It is a dying art form. But
Shocking.
I know, right? They can cost anywhere from a couple grand to several, and they usually last a month or two, and they are extremely hard to get into.
Yeah.
The most famous, popular clown college, which was run by Ringling Brothers, used to boast that it was harder to get into than Harvard.
Yeah.
Which statistically is true.
I mean, you were doing, like, here's the thing. They were doing tumbling. They were tumbling. They were rumbling. They were running around. They were jumping on high wires.
Yeah.
It's very physical. It's very, like, it's slapstick. So you're physically harming yourself. You're possibly getting hurt every day, doing somersaults and spraying each other in the face with tonic water and stuff. Yeah. I could see how it would be hard, and I could see how at a certain point someone might think, I could be a clown, and that would be me. I'd be like, I can be a clown, and then halfway through day one, I'd be like, I'm fucking out, y'all. I'm not doing
clown.
this. No way.
Then we watched a video of the Ringling Brothers Clown College. It was like a how-to video.
Yeah.
And it looked pretty intense, and there were so many people that showed up who didn't get picked.
It looked like 80s group of people trying to get picked to be like dancers in a music video. It was just like people stretching, and like you could tell they were like ready, like they had been practicing for this their whole lives.
Yeah. So there's people out there who love clowns. They want to be clowns.
Yeah.
They're excited about it. There were people in that video who every single year were going to apply to clown college.
And they were so optimistic. There was a couple of them that were like, if I don't get in this year, I'm going to try again next year. Like people who were like, this is what I'm going to do.
It's the resiliency of the clown.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a reoccurring theme.
Maybe that's how they pick them.
Maybe.
You keep coming back. Well, the master clowns.
The clown demons?
The dean of clown college.
I thought you meant the spirits, like clowns. You're like, that's how they pick them. That's how they decide whose bodies they're gonna jump into.
Maybe.
Funny you should say that because we're going to talk about that a little bit. There may be a great possessing clown spirit out there,
God.
or several of them, that has been wreaking havoc on society for many years.
Great.
Chapman University had a recent survey. They surveyed 1,500 adults.
Yeah.
And in that survey, of those 1,500 adults, 7.8% of them were afraid of clowns.
That's
like genuinely afraid of clowns.
Pretty high. Like when you look at this list.
I linked to the list.
Yeah. You've got like close by significant other cheating on you. Like that's
That's just below clowns.
there's some things that was like ghosts, strangers, obviously, but like things that are, a large volcanic eruption, I don't know, small enclosed spaces, and clowns are like in the immediate vicinity is like the same fear.
Wow, clowns are
Up
right
there.
below ghosts.
Yeah, ghosts.
People being afraid of ghosts by 1 percentage point, they're lower. What are most people afraid of? What's at the top?
What's at the top? It's probably
wanna
something
know.
horrible. Corrupt government officials.
Corrupt government officials. Terrorist attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People I love dying.
Wait a second. The Affordable Health Care Act, 35.5% of people are afraid of the Affordable Health
Of
Care Act.
having it or not having it.
Good question.
Ugh.
Well, that's weird.
Yeah, this is a weird list. I don't know how they asked these people these questions.
Cyber terrorism is 30%. That's crazy. All right.
Tag yourself. I'm widespread civil unrest.
I think mine is going to be devastating drought, 23.9%.
I'm going to go with, let's see. All of these are too serious. I don't want to say any.
You're going to go with clowns.
None of them are funny. I'm sticking with clowns.
Clowns is
Yeah.
good. Well,
Connor just kept scrolling past horrible thing after horrible
really
thing. I was like, I'm
terrible.
not saying any of those.
a lot of people,
Yeah.
10% of people basically surveyed are afraid of clowns. That's not an insignificant amount.
I'm in that category.
Sure.
I'm with you 10%. I'm in there.
There is something about being around a man dressed in a full clown outfit
Yeah.
that feels, it puts you on edge.
Well, yeah, because it's like going back to that sort of that role of creating a bit of chaos. That seems as if they're just agents of chaos, and
Yeah.
you don't know what's going to happen. At any moment, they could be like trying to give you a flower and squirting you with something, or like pretending to drop a pie in your lap, and then it's not a real pie. Like you just don't know. It's as if when you're around a clown, you don't exist in a regular world.
Yeah.
Because anything could happen and anything couldn't happen. It's the weirdest experience.
Or they're tying you to a chair, strapping a bomb around you, trying to track the Batman.
Or they're doing that. Yeah.
Pretty scary. I think part of the reason that we're unnerved by them is because, you see somebody in clown makeup and you can't recognize them.
Yeah.
They're a lot harder to recognize.
The hidden identity thing is always very creepy. Like when we see people in masks, we get scared. Like when it's a creepy thing not knowing who it is that you're talking to.
It's de-individualization, it's called. It's like that's kind of what I felt when I saw my ex-girlfriend dressed as a clown for the first time.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you are a foreign entity.
Yeah.
And you're really spooking me.
Yeah.
Didn't really like it.
Specifically if you're very like familiar with that person and then suddenly they look very different, it's a very creepy thing, and our brains don't like that. Our brains go, ugh.
They're also permanently have one emotion.
That's very true.
So they're, we're familiar with clowns that are frowning.
Yeah.
They're always like sad.
Sad
or ones that
clowns.
have like a big sinister smile. Thinking about new clowns, the scary new clowns, those ones are always looking terrifying.
Yeah, those ones usually I find lean more towards the like, I'm trying to look nice, but I'm not. And it's almost a subversion of like, I'm a nice clown, but there's something wrong and you can tell it's creepy. You know what I mean? There's just something creepy about it.
A lot of our fear of clowns might stem from seeing one too young, seeing one as a child.
This is fucking hilarious to me. So what you're saying is, if we show kids clowns too early, because our brains are trying to learn what people are, if we show them clowns too early, it literally can embed a fear in their subconscious mind.
There have actually been studies that have been done show that if a child sees a person with too exaggerated features too young, it will embed in their psyche. That idiosyncrasy will stick in their psyche, and they'll probably be scared of clowns forever.
That is so funny.
I bet you that's the main reason.
Yeah.
When we were talking about reasons people are afraid, out of like the 3 main reasons, I bet you this is the most common one.
I bet you're right.
Yeah.
And I loved that this quote that we found, Professor David Wilson, when a small child is first learning about the world, to have exaggerated features is disquieting and makes them question that what they are just beginning to feel is normal. Of course, the clown's behavior is meant to be funny, but if you haven't yet developed the sense of the world, then you simply view them as odd or scary.
Yeah.
And then you're stuck with that forever.
Yeah. It makes so much sense too, because when we're tiny little beings and our brains are trying to figure out what's going on, if we show them things that don't look like the things that we're used to seeing, I could see how we could be really freaked out by that.
Yeah.
I think you said it well, Dana, where you said a familiar body type with like an unfamiliar face.
Yeah, they're seeing like
scary.
What they think they're getting used to, what they're familiar with, and suddenly exaggerated features, big shoes, like just everything about it is kind of different in a way that they probably don't necessarily understand.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying.
I think more recently, a reason people are afraid of clowns is because of the 2016 phantom clown flap that occurred all over the country.
I vaguely remember this happening, and maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention, but I think I caught it at the tail end when like people were like the cops were literally being like, we see people in clown costumes, you are getting arrested. And I was like, what is going on right now? Like, what is happening?
It got so bad, in case you don't remember this happening.
Yeah, can you bring us up to
It got so bad at one point that during Halloweens in like 2016 and 2017, a lot of big department stores weren't selling clown costumes because they were afraid that people were going to use them to cause
so
terror.
Intense. Wow.
They thought there was going to be like a
purge,
a clown purge.
It was going to be supposed to be on Halloween 2016.
Oh, that's right. There were rumors of that, right?
But it was going to be the Great Clown Purge.
And so what? They were just going to cause like mayhem in the streets?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't exactly an organized effort from what I could figure out. But basically, it started to be a trend to dress up like a scary clown and stand on street corners and creep people out, especially at nighttime.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like if I was out walking my dog that I don't have and I saw a guy dressed like a clown, I'd get my taser out immediately.
Especially an intentionally scary-looking clown.
Like, forget it.
Well, that's what started to happen. There were viral videos that were popping up. There were reports all over the country.
I remember.
Of clowns like coming out of the woods, standing on street corners with balloons, like running after people, scaring people, holding knives.
Yeah, didn't Atlas Obscura create like a map of all the clown, like a majority of the clown sightings that year, so you could see like where it was happening in your state?
Here it is. Connor's got it on screen.
Gosh.
The definitive map of America's creepy clown epidemic.
I love this so much.
God bless Atlas Obscura for this.
Yeah, there's a lot in Ohio.
Oh, there are. Yeah.
There's a lot in Ohio.
What was going on in Ohio? September 29th.
I love there's
Wilmington, Ohio.
Descriptions too.
Multiple people on the campus of Wilmington College said they saw a clown, prompting college officials to release a statement. No clown was ever found.
Dun, dun, dun.
Lancaster, Ohio, September 27th. Witnesses reported seeing 2 clowns in the early hours, one all in black and another dressed in gold. No clowns are found.
No clowns are found.
Here's a Greenville, Ohio. These are all September 27th.
September was clown month.
A man claimed.
Baseball bat.
What?
Wow, 3:55 a.m. attacked by 2 clowns.
He was physically attacked by clowns?
And the suspects are described as having painted white faces. One suspect may have been bald with a beard and black diamonds painted around both eyes. Basically, in 2016, every metropolitan area turned into like New York City 1980.
Yeah, like a Tim Burton movie.
Where everyone was dressed. It was more like the Warriors.
Yeah, Warriors, exactly.
Where they were just roving bands of clowns terrorizing towns across the country.
I don't like that they were literally harming people. I mean,
goodness
that's not fun.
gracious. Here's
that's scary.
Penn State students. They even hosted a clown hunt. A mob got together.
Oh my God, did they have torches and pitchforks?
Uh-huh.
There's YouTube videos.
Oh my
Crazy.
goodness.
It's insane.
Just hundreds of kids like, we're going to get those clowns.
It's
running.
Bozo dies tonight.
We're coming for you, bozo.
Well, people were whipped up into a frenzy about this. It really put clowns into the cultural psyche as something to be scared of.
It's interesting. So what does that mean? That's like what we were talking about earlier with the idea that the clown's role was to create a little mayhem and chaos. And,
Well, this is a bit too far.
Maybe
One person
they took
got
it
stabbed
outside of the sacred space, right? Well, listen, if people are getting stabbed and beat with baseball bats,
There,
that's
one
totally
man was
different.
stabbed and killed a 16-year-old boy in possession of a mask. That's crazy.
What? All right.
Anyway, there you go.
Okay.
But here's what's funny about
I never
this.
realized it got this wild.
It
Holy
got
cow.
crazy.
Okay.
And it was so bad that professional clowns were having to issue statements
my
about
God.
how,
they
like,
probably couldn't get work.
no, people were too scared to hire them.
Oh, no.
And they were already, like, drying up. So, yeah, here's a really
hear
great...
my favorite statement?
It's so good.
We saw this. Oh, it's this picture of this poor guy. It's his job. Clown sightings across the world have been a huge distraction, says Peanut the Clown.
Oh, poor
Peanut.
Peanut.
Peanut had a rough year.
Oh, dude.
Wow. Okay, I didn't realize it had gotten that. Out
It
of
was
control.
bad. There's we'll have some links in the show notes if you want to reminisce about the great clown scare of 2016.
Yeah.
But what most people don't realize is where this actually came from. This is what's crazy. One event sparked the 2016 clown scare.
Okay.
It was a viral marketing stunt. It's staged in Green Bay, Wisconsin for an indie movie. Gags was the name of the clown.
Gags the
Gags
clown.
the clown. And he stood around in public with black balloons.
Uh-huh.
And then people took photos of him to make it look like they were like candids.
Okay.
And then they put him on the internet.
And then
it was
other
meant to
people just started
promote
doing
this
it?
this movie, this indie film.
Yeah.
But people latched onto it. And instead the film got buried under all of the other clown sightings.
Oh, so the movie didn't even get like a lot of attention because everyone was too busy focusing on people stabbing each other in clown costumes and stuff.
You got it.
It makes me think of there was a movie that came out, was it called Smile, not that long ago, and they had like people going to like sports events and stuff and just smiling into the camera.
Yeah. But at least they were wearing a t-shirt that had like the movie promotion on it.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Maybe because of what happened with these guys.
Is this Gags right
yeah,
here?
that's it. These are the pictures that started it all, apparently.
If I saw that, forget about it.
Green Bay, Wisconsin.
I'd kick that guy in the nards and run in the
it's
other
so
direction.
good.
It's very scary.
Let's talk about the scary clown in the room.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me that he's in here with us.
The Cracking Man. Now, we did a little experiment.
Yeah,
We decided we were going to bring the clown into the bedroom.
yeah. I am not. Yeah, we did. You're
And-
not sleeping with it, are you, Ray? Oh, Ghostbusters 2 again.
It's always applicable.
Uh-huh.
Well, we did. We slept with the Cracking Man
Yeah.
right in between the two of us.
So did Connor.
Connor took the clown upstairs.
Yeah. We cuddled up,
Did you experience anything
put
with
him
the
on the other
Cracking
side
Man?
of the pillow. No, other than just waking up every few hours and seeing this thing and sort of like darting my eyes around the room, seeing if there was anything around. No, not personally.
Well,
Did you?
I think I might have seen. You guys know me. I'm fairly skeptical. I'm a pretty middle of the road guy. I think I saw the Cracking Man last night.
Really?
I slept with him last night. I think I saw the Cracking Man last night. I woke up. I didn't sleep all that great last night, first off.
I didn't either. I didn't see shit, thank God, but I did not sleep very well.
Mm-hmm.
I woke up and I'm doing that thing where your eyes are adjusting to the room and I'm just trying to like get a read on, what time it is. And I look into the doorway of our bedroom and I see the size and rough shape of a man going to the left through the doorway. Left
So
a shadow,
towards the
left a
living
shadow
room?
on the wall. Couldn't really make out the full form, but it was about as tall as a man would be.
So you saw the shadow as it like walked into the living room.
Almost as if to go, oh shit, he's awake.
Ew.
Whoa.
I mean, it could have been our cat Walter if she, was walking on her hind feet and was 5.5, 6 feet tall.
The thing that I don't like is I don't remember anything in that letter. And the thing that freaked me out when you were rereading it now was them talking about being tired all the time. Because I slept like absolute
terrible
dog shit last
Me too.
night. Like
Same thing.
I did not sleep well at all.
I didn't sleep well when he was with me either.
That's yeah.
But I didn't see anything.
I didn't see
And
anything
you
either.
Saw something. Did you hear anything?
Yeah.
I did not hear anything.
We
but,
do have the ability to recreate that sound.
Well, here's the thing. We have heard that sound in the house before.
I have heard it. I can admit when we were living in our old apartment, around the time when we first got the Cracking Man, I think I want to say I know for sure that I heard it distinctly once, and
Yes.
I think I was in the living room when I heard it. I don't think you heard it.
No.
It was like celery stalks going like breaking, and it was in the room with me.
The original witness described it as a hollow cracking
That's
sound.
gross.
Yeah.
And so for a whole audio experience, we did get some celery because that's what you described it as last night. So
We're
we're
gonna
like,
do
"Get some celery.
a little ASMR here for any ASMR friends. Shall I do them one by one?
Yeah.
Cracking
All right.
Man sounds.
Cracking Man sounds. Take one.
Oh, that's creepy. That's a hollow cracking sound.
It
Kind
is.
of is.
It really does it well.
Dana, I think you have a future in Foley.
No, I have a future in ASMR.
Okay, that too.
So let's do a recreation of the woman seriously wakes up,
Yes.
sees a visage of a man standing above her bed with
Empty
hollow
eye
eyes,
sockets.
Ew,
Staring at her.
why?
and then he recoils back.
How
And
did
when
he see her?
and then when he recoils back, she hears this sound
Oh my God.
in conjunction with his
'cause his-
joints and his bones moving.
That's a gross sound, too.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
really
It
f***ing
is what it
creepy.
sounded like.
So we've potentially seen weird things
Mhm.
with the Cracking Man. We've heard weird things with the Cracking Man. We've done live experiments with the Cracking Man. You can watch those if you're part of the Patreon.
Mhm.
Join the Patreon,
Yes.
patreon.com/paramuseum. You can watch hundreds of old live streams.
Yes, and take part in weird experiments with haunted objects with us.
Exactly. Stuff like the Cracking Man. And we do them every month. So that's how we'll get to weekly episodes. If you help us hit our goal, we'll do weekly
Yeah.
episodes. Patreon.com/paramuseum. You can watch these old experiments. We also have a very strange EVP
We
that
do.
we have recorded from an old investigation, probably 2017, 2018. And in this, you can hear one of the guys who was leading the investigation. Where was this? Probably,
I don't remember at all.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was either at Poasttown Elementary School
Okay.
or the Anderson Hotel.
Makes sense.
One of those two places, probably. In this EVP, you're going to hear Donnie, who's leading the ghost hunt, talking to the Cracking Man. You'll hear a few responses, but the one that you want to listen for is Donnie asking the Cracking Man, "What would you like to be called?"
Okay.
And the response to it, we'll just let you see what you think. Does that not sound like it says Cracking Man?
It does sound like that.
It does. This was captured on a recorder called a Panasonic DR60.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch ghost hunting television at all, it's probably the only recorder you ever see.
Yeah.
They were actually discontinued because they were defective. Come to your own conclusions. But they are only supposed to record when they hear audio.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're really quiet in between these sessions, you'll have these like strange noises that pop up. Connor, you've done some research on the Panasonic DR60. Why is this thing like the primo piece of investigator equipment? Like if you go to eBay, $5,000 for an old discontinued audio recorder. You can't even take a memory card out of it.
Yeah, it's crazy that you have one because
Yes.
they're incredibly rare. Mostly they're so expensive because there's hardly any left.
Yeah.
Right.
And so really it's a scarcity thing. And they've gained a lot of popularity on ghost hunting shows and things like that. Here's the thing with the DR60. It is voice activated. You can actually go into recorders, and I know this sounds a little techie, but it's really not that much. You can look at what's called their frequency response. The frequency response is basically like the recorder's ears, right? Mm-hmm. So it's how low they can hear and how high they can hear. It's really easy. I actually read the manual of the DR60 not too long ago, and I did it for a lecture back when too, and they don't list the frequency response in it, but it's really easy to test. Some people have tested it. It's frankly a really weak frequency response. I'm just trying to refute the claim where people will say, hey, these can hear things that our ears can't hear.
Right.
That's not true. It can totally hear everything. Like our ears are actually better than the microphone on the DR60.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So that's not true. What's going on with the DR60 is that it's voice activated, and frankly, depending on where you set the sensitivity level, sometimes that voice activated feature, and this is why I don't like it.
Yeah.
The internal mechanisms are like so loud because it's this janky 25-year-old recorder that it can trigger itself.
Oh, interesting.
Even when nobody's speaking.
So you're saying like what it's doing is it's recording just what's going on inside of the machine.
It's the inner mechanisms
Interesting.
of the recorder itself. And so really what's going on, frankly, with most DR60s is it seems really mysterious because it's like nobody was talking.
Uh-huh.
It's like, well, yeah, you can tell nobody's talking. And what'll happen is a 2-minute clip will become 10 seconds if people only say a few words.
Right.
But even though nobody was talking, the recorder itself was working. And some of those clicks and bangs that happen inside of it can actually trigger itself.
Wow.
And then the microphone that's right next to it picks it up, and people put what they want to hear on top of that.
Sure.
You just dismantled paranormal television.
I'm sorry.
That's like the leading thing. Well, at least until everybody started doing the Estes method.
That's true, too.
Yeah.
Now that's all they do.
We'll talk about that one again sometime.
We will.
Sometime, too.
Yeah, so maybe don't spend $5,000 on this.
Maybe don't.
Maybe don't.
I mean, maybe it's the only recorder on the other side that they can get through
Maybe.
to. But
they're really elitist on the other
so
side.
sure.
They're only talking into those $5,000 recorders.
Oh, that's how it works, don't you know? The more money you spend on your hobby, the better you're going to be.
The more you're invested.
Yeah, right. This is where we should be detectives.
Okay.
So
I don't want to. I don't want to touch it.
We will say this is the first time it's been out of its case in probably since 2017, honestly. Let's take a look at what this story tells us.
Okay.
In this story, we hear about a woman who is experiencing a few different things. The first thing that this woman is experiencing is she's experiencing lack of sleep. There's something that's not allowing her to sleep through the night. Who knows what that could be? Then she starts to hear strange popping, cracking, snapping noises. Finally, everything sort of crescendos when she sees an entity that looks like a bog mummy and realizes that it's making those noises that she's hearing.
Yeah. So the sound,
probably with its bones.
So the sounds she's been hearing the whole time is actually the thing itself.
Exactly. What if all three of those things are not connected, but they're just coalescing at the perfect time?
I mean, I think that's interesting.
Because within her letter, they all kind of happen within the same month.
Yeah.
Right? So she brings the clown home. Then the popping, cracking noises start throughout the house. Celery sounds. And then it crescendos with the vision of the scary man looming over her bed.
Yes.
She may easily be connecting, and that object is simply just an outlet.
I think we see that all the time. I'm the first one to say that 90% of the stuff people send us doesn't do for us what it's done for them. It gets real weird with the other 10%, but the thing about this one is we did experience some weird things, potentially. She has an interesting detail in her letter where she says she tried to move, but she couldn't.
Yes.
To us, people who've been investigating the paranormal now for 25 years.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot like sleep paralysis to me.
Or to anyone who's had sleep issues and night terrors or sleep paralysis, which a lot of people have.
Mm-hmm.
There are 3 kinds of sleep paralysis. Listed here, there is the vestibular motor hallucinations.
Yeah.
So that's when you're floating or falling.
Okay.
There is suffocating hallucinations.
That sounds absolutely horrible.
Where there are old depictions in old grimoires of demons sitting on the chest of people.
The old hag, that classic old hag.
Being suffocated.
That sounds so scary.
The third, and I would argue probably the most common, are the intruder hallucinations. Now, we've all experienced something that could probably easily fall into the intruder explanation.
It's definitely the scariest. And I was reading some like actual sleep like scientific articles and stuff about this. They all happen to people throughout their lives. A lot of people get them a lot more commonly than others. Some people go their whole lives without experiencing it at all.
Yeah.
But most people will have at least one happen to them. The ones that really stick with your memory, though, are the intruder hallucinations.
Sure.
Well, for if you want a technical description of exactly what's happening when you have sleep paralysis.
Break it down.
It is it's sort of a mixed state of consciousness that happens between rapid eye movement level of sleep.
Okay.
So rapid eye movement sleep is really when your brain is mostly like shut down.
Okay.
Your body shuts down, like it doesn't move. That's part of the reason why you can't move when you have a waking nightmare like that.
Oh, okay.
So it does that so that while you're dreaming, you're not like
running around.
You're not actually
it's
running.
Like when dogs dream and then they run into walls and stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
It's your
we
body.
We would be doing that.
We would be doing that because we would be.
Oh my God.
Dreams are bizarre. So you would be doing the stuff in your dreams if your body did not shut down.
That would be really scary. You'd know exactly what people are dreaming about.
Yes, it's to keep you from hurting yourself or others. But the problem,
or creeping every other people out.
The problem is, it's kind of every once in a while you'll have a moment of awareness because maybe evolutionarily it's like to make you know, oh shit, there's somebody coming and they're gonna hurt you or whatever. There's
like
an animal coming to the cave.
A big cat's gonna bite my face.
Right.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is that REM sleep gets disturbed, and before your body has a chance to wake itself back up, it is actually kind of mixing your dream state with your waking state. So you're seeing things, and your brain is interpreting noises and feelings into what it can make sense of, which sometimes is like a scary entity.
Yeah.
Or if you're having trouble breathing, it's because there's a demon sitting on your chest. So that's what REM sleep is.
How horrible. Why would our bodies do that to us? Why would we have this baked into our bodies where it's like every once in a while, you're going to wake up and not be able to move and a demon is going to be on your chest, but it's just in your head.
Yeah.
Like, that's so dumb.
The thing that's weird about the Cracking Man is that you don't find a whole lot of examples of sleep paralysis that include audible noises involved.
So what you're saying is normally it's like visuals, not sounds that people experience.
Yeah, everything I read about was that.
And there might be. Here's the thing: we're not doctors. We're not psychologists. We're
not chiropractors.
We're definitely not chiropractors. I don't think anyone really is. But
allegedly,
it's very strange.
Yeah,
that she would be hearing those things.
Interesting.
At the same time she was visualizing that stuff.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So is that like what you're saying in a roundabout way is that you think that lends more credibility to her having experienced something paranormal versus what our brains are doing?
I think it could lend some more credibility.
All right.
It doesn't.
But again, I think that's really interesting.
It doesn't mean that that's necessarily connected to the doll. It could have been something else.
Yeah.
All of that stuff could be disconnected.
Yeah.
It really... The only time those things really ever coalesce in the story is when she sees the entity.
Yeah.
And she does say, I couldn't move when I saw it.
Okay.
Who knows?
All right. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I think they might be two incredibly separate things. But there is another detail of her story. There's a couple of details also in her letters that I think we need to pay more attention to.
Yeah.
That there might be something more to it.
Oh,
and as I'm reading this, I have a couple of thoughts.
Yeah.
It's a guess.
Okay.
An educated guess.
Let's hear it.
You ever notice something else about the Cracking Man?
There's one detail about the Cracking Man that's always been weird to me, and I don't know if this is the same thing that you've noticed, is that he has a pin. Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah.
He's got like a pin on his sleeve, and they look like prayer hands.
They're prayer hands. And I don't think that they came with prayer hands. That seems strange to me.
They didn't. Wouldn't make sense that they would.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not like it's a religious toy.
Right.
So it was put there.
It was put there.
And then allegedly, according to the original witness's letter, the man who owned the home where it was found was
he's a priest.
Was a retired priest.
Right.
So there could be something to that.
Okay.
Now,
don't make me more scared of this, Connor.
What can happen? You can ask priests to bless things. And there's a couple of different kinds of blessings. There's what they call constitutive blessings. That's like the big deal one. It's a sacred item that's going to be used in the church. So that's like more of a thing, more of a ceremonial big deal thing. And then there's also invocative blessings, which are technically like temporary blessings.
Okay.
Something that is just going to happen, like the food we're about to eat, or something that's like disposable.
Got it.
Okay.
And then they will also, upon request, occasionally bless items.
Okay.
So you can ask a priest to bless an item. Now, in like typical fashion, as far as I know, there's probably people that know, there's people that are watching that know better than me, but as far as I know, when you ask a priest to bless something, it's supposed to be something that's helping you along your spiritual journey.
Sure.
So like, or it's either that or it's for protection.
Right.
So like people will have their cars blessed.
Right.
Or people will, you could have the piano in the church blessed, you know, that you're going to use to bring people closer to God. And every now and then is my understanding that sometimes there's weird items that priests will bless too. I thought that, as far as like Roman Catholic priests are probably a little bit more picky, but there are other religions, maybe Orthodox, where they will bless more things, or who knows. But you know how you are supposed to dispose of blessed items?
No.
You're supposed to burn them.
Oh, way, dude.
Off, dude.
So this thing's trying to get this person to burn it, and what?
I think that it's possible that this priest had a box of items that he was intending to dispose. And you're either supposed to burn them or bury them. You're not supposed to. It's not a sin, at least to Catholics, to like throw a blessed item away.
Right.
But just
there's a proper way to do that.
Out of respect, you're supposed to either bury it completely, or burn it and bury the ashes, better yet. So,
oh my God.
What if he had a box of items that he was intending to dispose of?
And he died first?
That's what it says
in
here.
And it said, do not open.
I don't like this.
And it was supposed to be burned.
There's a bunch of things wrapped in towels and pillowcases.
That's such a weird detail.
Toys, books, a baseball trophy, weird trinkets.
Do you remember
they were
all of the times?
Wrapped?
And she was like, I couldn't stop thinking, I'm supposed to burn this.
Wow, yeah.
And everything was wrapped up.
Yeah.
The same way.
I need to burn this doll. I need to burn this doll over and over.
I literally have goosebumps right now. I don't want this thing next to me. I'm like, ugh.
Well, it might not be a bad thing. I don't know why. Like,
why would a priest?
Why would a priest have blessed a clown doll? It's a guess.
Like, here's the other detail. Here's the other detail in thinking about that now creeps me out so much. If it was blessed to like give it to a kid, why does it still have the plastic bags on its feet?
I don't know.
Because you would take that off. You'd be like, play with this toy. You wouldn't leave plastic bags on its feet.
There's other strange things about this doll.
Ugh.
One of the things that Connor found out while he was doing some research on it is it doesn't look like the tag that is on it is its original tag. So this actually was part of a different series of dolls. It was your sister, Michelle, that actually found the doll.
Shout out Michelle.
Shout out Michelle. We were, sitting around, and it was like, what are you doing? I'm looking up the Cracking Man. And I was like, it'd be cool to find the Cracking Man for sale. And Michelle sat there for like an hour or two through all these different Google searches and eventually found him.
Way to go, Michelle.
And we've got one.
Sleuth.
Got one on eBay.
Actually, show the camera
right now.
Look at that. $30. You can have your own Cracking Man.
You can have your own Cracking Man. And so what we decided to do is and see how it has a different tag.
Yeah, the tag is not the same tag.
It was the Circus Parade Anko merchandise, and it's from 1990. It's not that old.
No.
And so that's straight up the doll, just wearing different clothes. And then we found one that was just in a different box.
We have it here.
Yes, we do.
You can see what the box looked like.
Look at that. There he is. There he is again. That's his cousin. Different clothes again, but you can see what the box looked like.
That's the Creaking Man.
No more creaking. This is the not man in here, just a toy man.
There you go.
All right.
That's cool.
Bagged feet also.
Yep, back feet.
Nothing on the wrists.
Yeah, no prayer pin on this one.
No tag.
And so it's not antique, but something happened to it, and then somebody painted a painting because that painting has staple marks on the side.
Uh-huh. So this was part of a canvas on a stretched canvas. Somebody painted it,
and
then they pulled it off the canvas,
and they wrapped the clown up in it.
Oh my God.
and somebody put a pin on it for some
pin.
reason.
So do you think a priest would have like blessed the pins, and then the idea was you just put the pin on the thing?
It's possible that the pin's the only thing that's blessed. It's possible that it's,
like,
I mean, this is all again just a guess,
we're
but it's like
we're just guessing.
But if it's I am so fascinated by her obsession with the idea of burning it.
It's weird.
And the detail that this guy was supposedly a retired priest.
Yeah.
From some religion.
Yeah.
But that's totally how you're supposed to dispose of
wait.
So weird.
And a priest could potentially have them.
What if the literal cracking man is the priest? And he's like, you need to burn it.
No!
He's showing up, and he doesn't want to be rude. He doesn't want to be a pervert.
What
so
if he's telling
like,
us the other stuff in the box? We got to get the other stuff in the box.
There's other stuff in that box. And it went to a Goodwill.
Oh my God. I hate everything about this because I'm always telling people there's no haunted shit at Goodwills.
And the box said, do not open. It's like, it's not like it's really weird stuff. I mean, frankly, like, it doesn't really make sense. I don't know why a clown doll would be blessed. I could see why a prayer pen would be blessed. But maybe
my ex-girlfriend was a Christian clown.
I mean, maybe it was a kid's or something. Maybe it belonged to an old woman and it was there at a certain time. Maybe who knows? But that through line kind of makes sense.
That's
if
weird.
we wanted to make a Hollywood movie.
Well, there you go. Send us your scripts.
Yeah.
We'll make a Cracking Man movie.
I am not a fan now. We gotta get that box back. We gotta put him back in that box.
Oh boy,
Connor had to break it. Now we need a new box.
I mean, it's fine.
We can fix it.
Could not be a bad thing.
It's fine.
It's just that
he's just looking at us while we sleep.
Yeah, making me sleep bad. I don't like it.
I did sleep terribly.
If you're a practicing Catholic and you have potentially paranormal problems, you're not really going to call people like you guys. You might call your priest.
Yeah, you
That's
definitely
true.
wouldn't call
So
us.
he might have that item for a reason.
Oh my God, Connor, don't say that.
Well, listen, this is what we're good at. We're good at solving paranormal problems, particularly ones that deal with items. We've not really experienced anything that I would classify as frightening. You know, like, I mean, seeing a guy
hearing cracking, crunchy bones is pretty frightening.
My grandma's knees crack.
My knees crack too.
Yeah, so it's like it just
your
happens.
Knees crack, Greg.
What we gotta do is we gotta talk to him, and we gotta figure out what's going on with him.
This episode is brought to you by the Newkirk Museum of the Paranormal Membership Program. Become a museum member and take part in live paranormal investigations. Receive Dana's Magic of the Month subscription box, access in-depth artifact case files, and gain access to hundreds of hours of exclusive content available only to members. To become a member, visit patreon.com/paramuseum.
What you might not know is that there's actually a clown classification system.
Most of you, big shocker, probably wouldn't know about the clown classification system.
And it's
Holy
not
crap.
It's not scary, scarier, and sent from hell.
No.
That is a new classification system. This classification system is pretty old. It's been around for a long time. And the Cracking Man falls squarely into one of three types of clowns. The three types are as follows. You have the white face clown. Mm-hmm. He's typically referred to as the boss. Mm-hmm. He's the boss clown. You have the Auguste clown, and he's clumsy or does the bidding of the boss clown. Mm-hmm. And then you have the character clown or the tramp clown. Mm-hmm. we should say a lot of the terminology has not aged terribly well. So you sometimes will hear tramp clown or hobo clown.
Yeah.
Basically, that's a clown that's based on someone who's down on their luck. Typically, it's someone who is homeless, or there's someone who's experiencing like substance problems.
Yeah, or like someone like the classic like riding the rails person.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like that kind of idea.
The classic cultural depiction of the hobo, but this time done as a clown. That is who the Cracking Man is.
Okay.
That's what they call him anyway. It seems weird though because he has a white face.
That's true.
But it might be just a mix-up, or maybe they're referring to his fedora or something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Sure.
At least that's what he was listed as.
Okay.
Maybe there's crossover sometimes between these different types of clowns. Even some of the like tramp clowns, they have white faces too. But I think it's like the depiction is closer to maybe what we would think of as a mime.
Yeah.
They've got cleaner makeup.
Yeah.
They look like they're running the show.
Yeah, they're like their costumes are kind of beautiful and like very visually aesthetically pleasing. And like the character clown also too, if I'm not wrong, it's sort of like the clown that people kind of invent themselves. Like you can come up with your own face paint. You can decide how you want it to look.
Right.
There's like tropes that you can fall into, but that's the space where it's like you can customize it to your own liking.
Right.
And usually like the white face clowns will have like silk costumes. They look really fancy. They have pointed hats like those that kind.
Those ones are scary.
And then like the Auguste clowns are like they're carrying around props and they have that whole thing.
Big
They would have
hammers.
pies,
Yeah, that's their big thing.
big shoes.
Whereas the tramp clown or the character clown, he like can't get anything right.
Yeah. He's usually dressed in rags and sometimes he's got a big old cigar in his mouth. And yeah, they're the ones that a lot of times you see with the big frowns on them.
Oh yeah.
Well, for obvious reasons.
Sure. We would be remiss if we didn't mention that there are certain types of clowns that have a pretty racist history too.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of the circuses back in the early 1800s, they started to incorporate minstrel shows in them, and some of their clowns evolved from that. So there are a lot of like weird leftover stuff from literal blackface that was happening in a lot of these old circuses.
Yeah, you see it with like the extended mouths and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, and sometimes like clowns with big afros, that came from pretty racist stereotypes back in the day. A lot of the times those even filtered into the tramp clown stereotype. So the tramp clown really stems from a guy by the name of Emmett Kelly. Emmett Kelly began performing as a clown named Weary Willie in 1933 during the Great Depression. Most clowns were brightly colored, they were happy, they were energetic, but what Emmett Kelly did with his character is he made the clown turned upside down. He was downtrodden. He was sad. He was dressed shabbily. He looked like a tramp.
It's weird to think about too, because he was almost like a clown depiction of how people felt during the Depression.
Exactly.
He was depressed. He literally physically looked depressed. He was always frowning. He looked sad all the time. He embodies this like sadness sort of.
Picture of him, yeah.
Yeah, there's a picture on screen. You can see, like, here's the thing. Even if you don't know who Emmett Kelly is, if you don't know who Weary Willie is, you've seen that clown before.
Sure.
Everyone has. There's a good chance that you saw photos of him hanging up in your grandparents' house. That was the most popular clown probably since the 1930s. So one you see everywhere.
He looks so different from everybody else.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's wearing dark colors. He looks bummed out. His prop is a broom.
Yeah.
And one of his most popular acts was walking around while other acts were performing and eating cabbage.
That's so weird.
Well, what's crazy about him is that was his act. His act was to be sad.
Yeah.
Like he was actually hired by the Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey to just walk around and look sad.
Yeah.
And one of his other big famous acts was he would sweep up the spotlight. So they'd have a spotlight in the center of the stage and he would sweep it up. There's a really great clip. We can put it in the show notes. God, why can't I think of her name now?
It was Weary Willie on the Carol Burnett show.
Yes.
And it's the two of them sweeping up the spotlight together. And it's very sweet. It's very wholesome.
Yeah. And he sweeps up the spotlight. He hands it to her, and she's holding the spotlight in her hands, and then she takes it and she puts it in her pocket.
It's very sweet.
And it's interesting because, the Carol Burnett show was 70s.
Yeah, I mean, this was, definitely early 70s.
So it almost felt like a tribute to someone who had added a lot to comedy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, obviously, Carol Burnett was one of the funniest women and one of the pioneers for comedy at that point in time, too. So it was just, I think her, like you said, her paying tribute to someone who had gone in their own direction and done something really cool.
Yeah. Well, he was so popular that he was hired by Ringling Brothers. He was like one of their main attractions. There's old videos, black and white videos that he's in, like promotional videos for the circus. The guy was everywhere.
Yeah, he had a Coke commercial, a Coca-Cola commercial. He had like a bank commercial. Yeah. He was a humongous celebrity at that point in time.
It's so weird to think. Can you imagine
really
a
is.
clown today?
Well, he's the goat, apparently.
I guess Ronald McDonald.
Yeah.
Ronald McDonald's still kind of around.
Yeah, I mean, not really. They don't really use him
true.
anymore. He seems like he's like a very dated thing.
Mm-hmm.
In 1944, still going,
Yeah.
there was a massive fire, historic fire that happened at the Ringling Brothers Circus. There were 700 people injured. Almost 200 people died. I think 167 of them died. And there's a really famous photo of him like running to try and help people who are in the tent.
In his costume.
Yeah. It became really iconic. And he cared a lot about his job.
Yeah.
He cared a lot about his job. He cared a lot about the circus. He was very, very dedicated to it.
Yeah.
Some might say.
A little too dedicated.
A little too dedicated to it.
Yeah.
So some might say the job possessed him.
Yeah. His wife.
His wife would say that,
one
in
of those
fact.
People. His ex-wife, actually, I believe it is.
And why did she become his ex-wife?
I mean, he was very creepy about the clown, and at one point said that Weary Willie needed time in the sack also.
Emmett Kelly started to separate the character of Weary Willie and him to the point where he would have separate dinners for Weary Willie.
Yeah.
Because Weary Willie needed to eat too.
Yeah, very much an in-character.
And
or a character actor.
Apparently, his wife claimed that he became so obsessed with the idea that Weary Willie was a separate character that he dressed up as Willie on occasion when they had sex.
Ooh.
Because Willie needed to wet his willy too.
Oh, no. Willie had to go to Clown Town. That's gross. Listen, no judgment if you're into clown.
Hey, whatever, man.
We were talking about sexy clowns, but we're also all about consent.
I would not say that Willie is a sexy clown.
No, and also their marriage ended in divorce because of this, so I'm going to assume there wasn't a whole lot of consent in terms of wanting to have sex with a depressed clown.
But the way that he saw it is the clown was a separate being from himself.
Yes.
And like the clothes contained something else. And then he would put the clothes on. He even has a story where he said basically like the clothes in the trunk were almost talking to him. In 1950, he was asked by Warner Brothers to do a movie where there would be like a scary clown where he would be the main character and like the clown would kill somebody. And he said that he was like looking at the trunk of clothes and he could almost hear Willie inside of his head say, "Don't do this." He wants to be a good guy. He didn't want to be a killer. So like maybe some scary clown stuff predates Stephen King's work.
Yeah.
That's what we can gain from that too. But it was like this pleading voice inside of him that he heard. And then it continued on through the family.
This is the part where it's like, okay, maybe this one guy, maybe it was some form of mental illness.
Yeah, like an identity disorder.
There's anyone who's curious, there's a subreddit on Reddit. It's the Tulpa subreddit. And it is a group of people who are trying to force an alternate personality into their mind. And some of them are successful. Maybe it's something like that, where you're focusing so much on this character that the character separates and becomes compartmentalized in your brain. It's weird to happen once. It's also weird to happen twice, which it did with Emmett Kelly's son. Emmett Kelly Jr. also adopts the Weary Willie persona.
Yes.
And in the 60s. Weirdly enough, it's the same time period when Emmett Kelly Sr. is still performing as Weary Willie.
Yeah.
So depending on where you look, there's some people who say that his father was fine with it. Others say that he had a problem with it. It's hard to know at this point. But there he was. There was his son, Emmett Kelly Jr., performing as this famous clown and also claiming that it was a separate entity.
Mm-hmm. So you've got 2 generations now of people who have adopted a personality that they feel is separate from their own, that is this character Weary Willie.
Yes.
They're both dressed very similarly. They're both depressed, sad kind of clowns. And the thing is, Emmett Kelly Jr. is getting attention. He's making a career out of this. Like people are paying attention.
And just like his father, his wife divorces him, claiming that the entity Weary Willie has taken over her husband's body.
That's scary.
There's another spooky thing that happens where Emmett Kelly Jr., he has a son. His son is in a freak train accident and loses one of his legs. So Emmett Kelly Jr. has to come home for a little while, be with his son, but he doesn't stick around long because Weary Willie needs to get back on the road.
Yeah, the quote is literally, Willie's feet are itchy. Like he's like, Willie's got to hit the bricks.
And he's talking about him as something separate from himself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like Willie's looking at his watch going like, all right, let's get the show on the road. We got people to make happy. Not my son, but other people.
So for the second time in the same family.
Yeah. So we have 2 generations now. We have Emmett Kelly Jr.
And both possessed.
Yes.
By Weary Willie.
Yeah.
Well,
should have stopped there.
You would think. What are the chances it happens again?
We have a 3rd generation now.
So Paul Anthony Kelly, Emmett Jr.'s son.
He is the person who had the foot injury.
He has one leg. And so for a while, he enters the family business and he performs as a one-legged high wire artist. And this is after the train accident. So he's a high wire artist with one leg.
Yeah.
But he gradually becomes so fascinated with the Weary Willie archetype that he adopts it too.
Yeah, he also at a certain point starts to call himself Emmett Kelly III, which is not his name, for obvious reasons. But it's good for business, so he's Emmett Kelly III.
Here's the weird part. He claims that Weary Willie came to him in a dream and said, "Don't let me die."
God, don't burn me.
Don't let me die. And so he took on the role of Weary Willie.
Yeah, there's a quote here. Sometimes I feel as though Willie was taking over my body, just as he did my father and grandfather.
This is generational issue
3.
now.
Yes.
3.
Yeah, we're in 3 now.
Why isn't this a movie?
This is the 3rd. Yeah, this is the 3rd movie we're in right now.
Kudos to Connor on this because no one talks about the weirdness of Emmett Kelly and his sons.
It's really overlooked.
Everyone always talks about what a beloved character Weary Willie was, and he's the most famous clown he is. He's the most famous clown of all time. Probably, maybe Ronald McDonald nowadays, but when you see Weary Willie, you recognize it.
Very iconic.
It's crazy that no one talks about the possession.
Yeah, Connor put the pieces together, the puzzle together.
I mean, there's not much people. There's not many people are talking about it. There's a couple of articles out there, but I actually got a link to it from one of the academic papers, and then looked at newspapers.com, and the headlines, sure enough, are like, grandson of famous Emmett Kelly also takes on persona, son takes on persona. You can find videos of this whole family, and they each had issues in their lives saying that Willie would control their body.
Sometimes make them do things that maybe they didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And that's where the story gets real scary.
Real sinister.
Emmett Kelly III moves out to California because he wants to take it seriously. Doesn't go over very well. He ends up developing a lot of substance abuse problems and then claims that, no, those are Willie's problems. That's Willie that has those. Things get really bad in November of 1979 when he brutally murders 2 people on separate occasions. He pleads guilty to both of the crimes, but he officially names Willie as his accomplice.
Wow.
We can look at this and we can go, well, maybe he has dissociative identity disorder.
Yeah.
We're not doctors. We can't say whether that's true or not.
Yeah.
It is strange, though, that this is generational.
Yeah.
And that it ends where it ends.
Mm-hmm.
Emmett Kelly III is actually still in prison in California for those crimes. He was sentenced in 1980, and he's doing 40 years to life for that. So he's probably not going to see the outside.
Yeah.
He's still out there, which means Weary Willie is still out there, potentially sitting in a cell somewhere. What makes me is he going to find another vessel?
Oh my God, I don't like the way you said that.
Is he gonna hop to somebody else?
Thinking of this in terms of, yes, this is an actual thing. This is a disembodied spirit that is utilizing other people's physical bodies for the sake of performance. If it's a trickster that's trying to seek out other bodies, there's no reason why it wouldn't. If it again, for the sake of conversation, for the sake of this conversation, if that were the case, it just jumped 3 people because they were circus people. They're a family of circus people. Just easy to keep going. The trickster keeps going. You know what I mean? You hear a lot in the paranormal. I don't really buy into this personally, but you hear a lot about generational curses. Sure. That typically happens around people who are looking for some kind of like a biblical or Christian angle that they can go after. Yes. I don't really buy that, but it is really strange that this has descended down the family line. Yeah. But like you said, these guys are circus people. Yeah. They're marginalized people who live on the edges of society. Yeah. They live very liminal lifestyles. Yeah. The old joke is, I'm going to run away and join the circus. Yeah. These guys actually did that. So they don't have a home for a big part of the year. They're living on the road. They're literally setting up tents, places that only exist for a small period of time. We know as paranormal investigators that liminality and marginality play a big role in the paranormal. You look at people who are experiencing poltergeist phenomena. A lot of the times it's like teenagers who are in the liminal phase between like being a kid and being an adult. Puberty plays a big part in poltergeist phenomena, as do unfinished buildings. Yeah. Places that are half built or having renovations done on them seem to, they emit some weird paranormal force. A lot of the time that's the case. You can't get much more liminal than running away and joining the circus. Yeah, it's very true. So it's not surprising that these people experience some stuff. I would be interested to see if there are people who are listening to this show who maybe have worked as a carny or are in the circus or ever have been. Have you experienced anything strange because of the way that you've lived while you were on the road? I often wonder if like roadies or people who travel around with bands and like help bands set up huge stages, they have a sense of, again, it's that like you're living on the road, you're building things, and in the same night you're tearing them down. They're like the ultimate liminal space, and you're also building things for people to have these huge experiences and emotions, like a concert or a carnival or a circus. Yeah. And then you're tearing it immediately down. Where does that energy go? Think about on a much smaller scale, hotels. Hotels are always haunted. Yeah. Even new ones. They really are. They're the weirdest place. They're very liminal, strange places. Yeah. Liminal places inspire paranormal activity, as do liminal people. Yeah. There's always been, the visual that I've told people sometimes is imagine that there is a brick wall in your psyche. And every time you're doing your normal routine, your normal activities, that brick wall is getting stronger and stronger. You're stacking the bricks up. And then when something is abnormal or something doesn't have a routine, there's holes that are poked. Yep. And they start to shove out like you're playing Jenga, just little bits of that. And whatever is on that other side of the psyche, that other, that ether, that something else out there, occasionally I think has the ability to poke through. Yep. If there's enough of a space. Yep. And so that seems more likely with individuals like this. That's very true. There's a quote here from that same scholarly article that we referenced earlier in the show by Joseph Derwin of Trinity University. He writes, "The handicapped, drug-addicted Paul Kelly is a marginal, liminal personality.
All 3 generations of Emmett Kellys seem to be eccentric, boundary-crossing loners. And while no source on the evolution of Weary Willie explicitly mentions the idea of possession, this theme seems to dance all around the edges of the story. It's therefore not totally unfair to dub the Paul Kelly affair a killer clown incident for cultural purposes, because Kelly himself named Weary Willie as the perpetrator. How crazy is that? Even Gacy didn't say the clown made me do it.
Yeah.
That's a weird one.
Yeah. It's very strange. I don't know. It's very creepy. It's very strange. It's very sad.
It is.
All in all,
sad.
it is sad.
Do you think that there's a danger to playing a persona for so long that persona sort of becomes its own thing?
I mean, you see it in, as far as actors go, if they play the same character for too long, they get typecast as either that character or characters similar to that character.
Yeah.
And it acts as if it's a curse at that point because they can't get out of it because people won't take a chance on them to try something different.
It's possible that something could go wrong if you are cast as a sort of archetype that goes against your traditional personality or the way that you're naturally born to be or the way that you feel. And you're doing something so subversively different all the time.
Yeah.
That's got to mess people up, right?
I think about, as lame of an example of this is Jared Leto playing the Joker.
Yeah.
Like, there's all kinds of stories about what a monster he became on set. Like, sending people weird stuff.
Yeah.
Being a menace.
Creepy.
Yeah. That tends to happen.
But it's like, it's that desire to slip into a character that allows us to behave differently than maybe we normally would. And the reality of it is it's really just mirroring an aspect of your shadow self that you have yet to allow, free, to allow yourself to explore. So we get to do it in these different identities. Like, we get to put on different costumes and explore these different aspects of our unconscious self.
You just have to be careful that it does not take over.
Yeah.
Because I think it can.
Absolutely.
Why in the world did the woman who experienced the Cracking Man not see a clown?
I didn't even think about that till literally right this moment when you said that to me. That's fucking weird.
It's weird, right?
Yeah.
That's a lingering question that I have with the Cracking Man. Why wasn't it a spooky clown that showed up? Why was it this
clown?
Desiccated mummy, man?
This clown also, just for reference, is soft. It doesn't really, it's got porcelain hands and face and feet, but the rest of it is soft. It doesn't even have any like wiring or anything inside of it. That's really weird, Greg.
I mean, that goes back again to maybe 2 separate incidents. A sleep paralysis incident that was blamed on this figure.
Yeah.
Which may not be creepy in its origins at all.
Sure.
That she blamed it on.
Yeah.
And she admitted herself she had not been sleeping well. Like, she was kind of weirded out, but she had been very busy at that point in time, which are all things that can trigger sleep paralysis in a lot of people.
You think she was probably afraid of clowns?
I mean, what do we know? 7.8% of people are.
Almost 10%.
Yeah, almost 10% of people have a fear of clowns. The rest of the people would likely think they're weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's a pretty
But enough
big
to have that
percentage.
kind of response,
Yeah.
when you've got a spooky clown. I mean, again, we receive lots of clowns
Yeah.
that people are frightened of.
Yeah.
But not a whole
Maybe
lot of
she
them
was.
actually see this thing leaning over their bed making weird noises and putting ideas in their head to burn it.
Yeah.
And then by
Strange.
sending it to you all, she kind of solved that problem.
Yeah.
That happens all the time. I think, a lot of the time we don't even really have to do anything much.
No.
Just the act of getting rid of something that you formed this like weird attachment to seems to sever that.
Yeah, it's as if it allows people to unconsciously just let that fear go because they've compartmentalized it into an object, and then the act of giving it away allows them the freedom on an unconscious and conscious level to not carry that weight around with them anymore.
What do you think? What do you think the Cracking Man is, Connor?
I think the Cracking Man is, if he has that backstory where he was a potentially an item that needed to be discarded, like he might not actually have a scary backstory.
Yeah.
The person who originally purchased him way back in the 90s probably wasn't scared of clowns.
Sure.
But this sort of fear has been blamed on him, especially from the woman who sent him to you.
Yeah.
That she saw this really scary vision and then was like, I need to get rid of this. It's causing it. I think that sleep paralysis incident was probably separate, but what I can't connect right now is the cracking sounds that she heard in the incident, connecting it with the cracking sounds that she was hearing throughout her house.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the shadow figure was there during the daytime too, and she just couldn't see it or something like that.
Sure.
I thought about that.
It didn't seem from this letter, and again, we can only really extrapolate from what we have. It didn't seem like it wanted her to see him.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
right?
true too.
It didn't seem like
It was
it
ducking
wanted
out.
her maybe to hear, but maybe not to see. Maybe it was aware of how scary it was.
But I think what we've learned for sure is that the clowns are it's another way that we haven't used before in our investigations and our work to enter into the liminal mindset.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
That kind of helps shake things up a little bit and allows for more activity to occur.
Are you saying that maybe we should have like a Hellier season 3 episode where we're all dressed as clowns?
I mean, people call us that anyway, right?
That's true. That's true. I'm sure it's going to happen no matter what. So we might as well embrace it.
Yeah.
Maybe
Just be a
weird
bunch of
stuff
clowns.
will happen. What do you think the Cracking Man is, Dana?
I am now convinced that the Cracking Man is some horrible thing that was in a priest's basement that James Wong will make a movie out of someday.
Wrong franchise.
Uh-huh.
Wrong franchise.
Oh, it'll end up in that one too.
That's true. I think that the Cracking Man is some ancient archetypal entity that is just seeking a better vessel. That's why it's trying to be burnt. So at some point in the near future, I'm probably going to be eating for the Cracking Man. I'm going to be performing for the Cracking Man. Maybe I'll join the circus. But I'm also going to be making love for the Cracking Man.
Mm-hmm. No.
Maybe it's going to be more like the Jacking Man.
Yep. That's so stupid.
I don't know what the Cracking Man is, but I think that even without the answers that we so desperately crave, we have learned a lot about clowns today.
Yeah. Some might say too much.
I think the listeners have learned quite a bit about clowns.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. I'm genuinely far more fascinated with clowns now than I was before. I think I understand the allure.
Yeah.
And I also understand that, like, these clowns are possessing people and they're making them do weird shit. So, I think there might be reason to be a little scared.
Yeah, maybe we should actually be afraid of clowns.
Potentially.
Yeah.
There are unanswered questions when it comes to the Cracking Man. The story's scary. There's no way around it. It's spooky. I don't think that there's anything that's intentionally negative. It could just be misunderstood. We see that all the time. If we were constantly scared of the things that we didn't understand, we would not be in the position that we are now. We've found answers just by being open to understanding. We took this thing to bed the other night. We're willing to do what it takes to try and figure it out. We don't have those answers yet. What we do have is a better understanding of the clown archetype. We know where these stories come from now, and now the listeners do too. We can understand that they stand for something that helps us as a society.
Yeah.
It's something that we can connect to. We can connect to the dark side of clowns. We can connect to that trickster archetype. And sometimes that archetype shakes us up, gets us out of our comfort zones, or is just a release for things that exist in all of us. It's that archetype and the understanding of that archetype and the idea of what a clown is and why they've always existed in our society is what makes the Cracking Man a haunted object.
The Haunted Objects podcast is hosted by Greg and Dana Newkirk, produced by Connor J. Randall, with photography directed by Carl Pfeiffer, and features exclusive artifacts from the Newkirk Museum of the Paranormal. To learn more about the artifacts featured in this episode, take part in live interactive experiments, and enjoy exclusive Haunted Objects content, become a museum member at patreon.com/paramuseum. This has been a Planet Weird production.
We've invited the clowns.
No, we haven't.
We did.
There was
We've
no
been-
invitation.
I think anyone who's watching the video podcast can see there's been a pretty obvious invitation to the clowns.
Send in the clowns, I think is the phrase.
Send the clowns away.
Oh, boy. Well, no matter what. Dana's eating the... Give me one of them.
That's really good,
Yeah,
actually.
Oh, yeah. Some more stuff to crack.
Cracking Man
Here's the thing.
snacks.
You got chips there too.
Oh, there are some chips. Would you like some delicious chips, Dana?
No.
Look,
I will almost choke.
on your celery. Delicious chips. These are chips, original flavor. For those of you who aren't watching the video,
Delicious chips.
one of those giant snakes just flew out of a Pringles can.
Why aren't you watching this video?
I don't know. You should be.
Watch the video. Listen.
You're going to be sad you're not watching the video when you start to see the screen caps from the video.
Yeah, you got to watch
pop up
this
on
one.
social media.
If you're not someone who watches podcasts, watch this one. It might change your mind.
Cracking Man Celery, available at hauntedobjectspodcast.com.